You know that little knot of anxiety you get when you're booking a ride late at night? Well, today, we're tearing apart a modern horror story that takes that exact feeling and spins it into a total nightmare. Let's break down this ghostly ride piece by piece.
So let's just jump right to the end, okay? Because this story's final line is just, wow. It's a chilling warning that perfectly captures the whole fear of the story. What happens when the technology we depend on every single day turns on us and opens a door to something much, much older?
All right, let's set the scene. Meet Nisha. She's a 26-year-old content moderator living in Mumbai. She's just finished a grueling late shift, she's exhausted, and all she wants to do is get home and crash. We've all been there, right?
So she pulls out her phone, fires up the rideshare app, and success. A driver, Mahesh Patil, is only 3 minutes away. Ah, that sweet, sweet feeling of relief. But, this is a horror story, and that little moment of luck, that's the first step into the trap.
And here is the first, very subtle clue that something is off. This is the third night in a row that she's been matched with this exact same driver. Now, to Nisha, it's just a weird little coincidence she barely even thinks about. But for us, the audience, this is a massive red flag waving in the dark.
So she gets in the car, and the driver, Mahesh, confirms her destination, Powai, before she even says anything, and for a split second, she's like, wait, did I ever tell him where I live? But she just brushes it off. The app must show him, she figures. And this is just brilliant, right? It shows how we're all trained to just trust the tech, trust the app over our own gut feeling. The first real warning sign gets explained away.
Okay, so the vibe is off. We've got these little unsettling details. Now we're going to watch this thing escalate from a slightly weird cab ride to a full-on nightmare as reality itself starts to peel away at the edges.
Mahesh completely ignores the GPS. He turns off the main road, heading into this dark, totally deserted industrial area. Nisha, naturally, asks him what's going on, and he just calmly says it's a shortcut to avoid traffic. And his excuse is just so normal. It's just plausible enough to make her second-guess her own fear.
And this is when things start to get really weird. It's like reality itself starts to buffer. First, the radio starts playing a news report from years in the past. Then, a billboard they just passed shows up again, only this time it's charred and burned. And finally, the final blow, her phone loses its signal, the GPS freezes, she is completely and utterly alone.
So now, she's totally cut off. Her phone is basically a brick, and the world outside the car isn't making any sense. And this is the moment the story stops whispering and starts screaming, shattering everything she thought was real. Her phone flickers back to life for just a second, long enough for a call from her colleague Sana to come through. But the call, it presents two realities that cannot both be true. Nisha insists she's in the cab, but Sana, who's still at the office, says, "What are you talking about? Your cab was canceled. You never left." So, who's right?
And bam, just as her brain is trying to process this impossible situation, the phone dies. For good, this time. Her last link to the normal world is gone. She's trapped.
And suddenly, it's like a slot machine hitting jackpot in their brain, but in the worst possible way. All these little random memories, they just click into place. A completed trip in a ride history with this driver from last year. An old news story about a cabbie who died in a crash. And then, as if to confirm it, a police checkpoint they're driving towards just evaporates into thin air. It's not a possibility anymore. It's happening.
And then Mahesh just tells her. No drama. Just this calm, sad explanation that he died in a crash. Right here. 1 year ago, tonight. He says that sometimes the app glitches. His profile pops up, and some people, they accept the ride. Nisha realizes she's not just in a cab, she's inside a ghost's final traumatic memory, stuck on repeat.
Okay, so most people will be screaming, right? But this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Nisha stops being a victim and starts trying to figure out the rules of the game she's been forced to play. She glances in the rearview mirror and sees the impossible, a thin line of blood across her own neck. But when she touches her neck, there's nothing there. And that one little detail changes everything. The question is no longer, am I with a ghost? It's, wait, am I part of this haunting?
She has this flash of genius, a total moment of clarity. Instead of trying to get out of the car and run, she realizes the only way out might be to go deeper in.
She tells the ghost driver to turn around, to take them back to the place where he crashed. She decides to face the loop head-on. It's such a gutsy move.
All right, now we get to the ending, and the story plays this amazing trick on us. It gives us this neat, tidy, rational explanation, and then just yanks the rug out from under us.
And just like that, she's awake. A security guard is shaking her shoulder. She's not in a car, she's on a bench outside her office. Her phone works fine, battery's at 57%. Her friend Sana shows up and confirms it. Her cab was canceled, she must have just fallen asleep waiting. It was all just a nightmare. Phew, right? We can all relax. Or can we?
The story gives us these two columns of evidence. On one side, you have all the logical proof. It was a dream. But on the other, you have that gut feeling, that unshakable memory that it was all too real. And there's one final piece of the puzzle.
So she's leaving with Sana, ready to just write this whole thing off as the weirdest night of her life. And she does that thing we all do, right? Just one last mindless scroll through her phone. She taps on her photo gallery.
And there it is, the knockout punch, the proof. A brand new picture, time-stamped 3:33 a.m. It's taken from the perspective of someone sitting in the back seat of a car. The driver's seat is empty, but if you look in the rearview mirror, you can see his face, Mahesh, the ghost driver, staring right back. It wasn't a dream.
And that's what makes this so genuinely chilling, right? The story ends, but the horror, it lives on your phone. It leaves us with this awful, lingering question: how do you ever truly escape a haunting that's saved right there in your camera roll?